It's like a shark, NATO, except with poop.
I'm not happy.
So no doubt Melvin Capital is in a lot of pain.
There will be carnage, I can guarantee you.
They're starting to have to unwind their longs in order to pay for the pain that they are seeing in these other short positions that are getting absolutely crushed.
It is a corrupt system.
A casino-like atmosphere.
But when they all come to get out of that movie theater because somebody yelled fire, that door is only so big.
Now it's almost become this risk that if you're publicly coming out as a hedge fund and disclosing the stocks that you're against, as one trader, as one Twitter user put it, you're at risk of getting Melvined.
The reason the market is doing what it's doing is people are sitting at home getting the checks from the government.
Grandma and the little guy have all banded together into a big group, and they've done this to the stocks.
It's just a way of attacking wealthy people.
The authorities, should they step in?
You know, you have these massive bailouts. You have the Federal Reserve pumping money into failing banks and corporations. And then, I don't know, how many segments did CNBC do to talk about how the market is manipulated by these very companies and banks?
This fair share is a bullshit concept.
Ban social networks to talk about buying short stocks.
There's a number of different ways that the stock market is manipulated or, artificially moved in one direction or another. I generally think that almost all of it is absolute BS.
It is a corrupt system.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation, everybody, welcome to the show. We are back. Speaking of back, okay. So I have been off since Thursday. Well, I should say Friday. A little bit of an old back injury, but I'm here. I'm not quite feeling 100%, but I'm feeling a lot better than I did then. So we're gonna do this. We got a show for you guys. It's going to be pretty great. We have, of course, MAGAgrets, or MAGAgrets, is what I like to call it now. More regret from, the Capitol insurrectionists. Fun. We also have Sidney Powell literally having to get chased down by Dominion. That's awesome. That's a fun story. We have Georgia launching an investigation into President Trump, former President Donald Trump, I should say. We have some highlights, or should I say lowlights, from the first day of the second impeachment trial, former president. And then we've got also the Neera Tanden hearing. So we've got some video. We've got lots and lots of video for y'all today. So, buckle up, sit tight, and we're going to have a great show. All right. So let's, again, thank you, by the way, to everyone, all of your warm wishes, and everybody sitting tight. I know it's been, a rough few days. I know that, y'all are missing the show. I'm glad to be back. It's good to be back. It's good to be feeling a lot better. I'm just glad to be here with you all. All right. So that said, let's do it. Let's get into the first story. We've got some regrets. Love it. All right. The regrets continue for some of the MAGA insurrectionists who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Now, I've already told you about, Jacob Chansley, or the Q shaman, as he's more well known, also feeling some regrets, and now is going to testify or wanting to testify against Donald Trump. But we have another one. This is indicted MAGA rioter Jenna Ryan, who is now admitting that former President Donald Trump lied to her about the 2020 election being stolen. Oh, he lied. You don't say. Tell me all about it. All right, so let me go to an interview that she had with the Washington Post. In it, Ryan expressed regret for her actions and said that she was duped into believing something that wasn't true. Here are her words. Quote, "I bought into a lie, and the lie is the lie, and it's embarrassing. I regret everything." You love to see it. You love to see the regret. You love to see the realization on their faces where it's like, oh, you mean that whole thing was a lie? What else are you gonna, say that you were that was a lie? You mean Hillary Clinton doesn't eat babies? Oh my God! Who would have known? Who would have known? Okay. So now, earlier today, this kind of coincides this story. Interestingly enough, the Washington Post put out a piece saying a lot of the MAGA, insurrectionists were having money troubles. So I think that's BS. I think that, a lot of these people flew in. Jenna herself flew out in a private jet. A lot of them were CEOs. In fact, she's a realtor from Texas, this woman herself. And so that is, I don't know, it feels like the Washington Post is like saying, oh, they're doing the whole, they were economically depressed argument. No, they were there. They were not there because of $2,000 stimmy checks, okay, or the lack thereof. No, they were there to overthrow an election. Washington Post, what are you doing? What is wrong with you? These people are violent insurrectionists. But anyway, no, but hey, look, they're white, they're affluent, business owners, CEOs, etc. And you don't want to accept those people. Oh, no, of course not. Of course not. But anyway, she had drew attention of law enforcement officials when she had posted video of herself doing crime. Of course, or bragging about doing crime. In fact, here's what she said. We're going to go down and storm the Capitol. They're down right here. They're down there right now, and that's why we came. So that's what we're going to do. So wish me luck. And by them, meaning the Republicans that were, basically there to support overturning election results and just not verifying the election results, or not necessarily verifying, but certifying the election results on January 6th for Joe Biden. Basically, the whole Republican plan, or at least the whole Trump plan, was to not certify the election results and just hand over the election to Donald Trump. That was the whole plan. And the mob there was there to, scare Republicans, basically, who were not voting against certification, were voting to certify the election into not voting for the certification. And so understand that that's what their motivations are. They were counting on Mike Pence as well to do something, and which he obviously did not do, which infuriated the crowd so much that they were calling for Mike Pence's head, literally. So now, going back to her quotes, she said, "I listened to my president who told me to go to the Capitol." She said in an interview shortly after the riots, "I was displaying my patriotism while I was there, and I was just protesting, and I wasn't trying to do anything violent. I'd just like to apologize for all the families that are affected by any of the negative environment, and I'd just like to say I really love people, and I am not a villain. that a lot of people would make me out to be, or people think I am, because I was a Trump supporter at the Capitol. Right. Oh, of course. Sure. Except that you tried to overthrow an election and were there along with people who were doing violence. And there's plenty of pictures of you doing that. In fact, on January 6, 2021, Ryan posted photographs of herself at the Capitol building grounds through her social media accounts, again, giving everybody evidence of crime, which depicts Ryan in front of a broken window at the U.S. Capitol building with the caption. I'm going to show you that right here. So here it is. There's a picture. Window at the Capitol. There's Jenna, just standing in front of a broken window, happy as all get out for property damage. Weird. Says, if the news doesn't stop lying about us, we're going to come after their studios next. I don't know, that doesn't seem peaceful to me. I'm just saying. And turns out the news was exactly right about you. Who knew? Oh, right, all of us. But of course, a lot of these, insurrectionists, rioters, they're saying that, oh man, we didn't know that this was, we're sorry, dog. We feel bad. We feel real bad about it because they got their hand basically caught in the insurrection jar. Now they're saying we're real sorry about that whole thing. Let's just forget about it, and just let us go. Just let it go. She also said we didn't know it was a lie. We believe what the president and all the conservative media was telling us. They were just feeding us this information without any sort of proof, and we just swallowed it all up. We just ate it up with a spoon, and that made us go to the Capitol and try to put people in harm's way, beating police officers and all that stuff. But again, we didn't really mean it. But here's the thing. It's not like you couldn't find the facts. Again, the Department of Justice, the Trump Department of Justice, William Barr, Republican election officials, legitimate news outlets, real news outlets that don't spread things like fake news, guess what they reported? No fraud. No election fraud. And they had receipts. They had the receipts from the numerous recounts and investigations and court cases that proved that there was no widespread election fraud. And guess what? Y'all called it fake news. You knew it was there. And you knew that what you believed was not true. But you still said, no, I don't care about facts. I don't care. I'm going to stick to this fantasy that Donald Trump won the election, and then I'm going to use that as an excuse to go and attack politicians I don't like. And that's what it is. So don't give me the BS argument that you didn't know. You knew, and you chose not to listen. You chose to be ignorant. You chose to be violent. Take some personal responsibility for yourself. For once in your goddamn life, MAGA supporters, I have no sympathy, as you can tell. And by the way, before she admitted that she had listened to the lie, she was also begging Donald Trump for a pardon while he was still president. In fact, here's what she said. I think we all deserve a pardon. I'm facing a prison sentence. Oh my God. I know a white affluent woman facing prison. Oh my God, no. Say it ain't so. Here's what she said. I think I do not deserve that. And from what I understand, every person is going to be arrested that was there. Yeah, that's right. They should be. So I think everyone deserves a pardon. So I would ask the President of the United States to give me a pardon. You don't deserve a pardon. You didn't. And of course, you're not going to get one. And that's what happened. You didn't get one. Instead, what did Donald Trump do? Well, Donald Trump pardoned Steve Bannon. The dude who literally stole his supporters' money to line his own pockets while, pretending and saying, oh, don't worry, I'm going to build your racist border wall. Instead, they used it to buy their own stuff, line their own pockets, buy, boats and cars and all that stuff. But you know what? Look, I understand you were duped. Of course. You allowed your hatred of immigrants, liberals, and America to blind you to a man who only used you to try to get ahead for himself. And that's it. Even with all the facts in the world, you still made the decision to follow that person, to be violent on behalf of that person, and not even to fight for a real just cause, right? No, because you were salty that your dude lost an election. That was it. That's all it was. How sad and absolutely pathetic is this? But again, she's right. She was duped. She was a mark. She was a sucker, like all of Donald Trump's fans. Because Trump attracts two different types of people, okay? Those who want to use others and those who are okay with being used. I mean, that's what it is. So again, being the sucker, I don't feel bad for you because we were here the whole time telling you what the facts really are, exactly who this guy really is. And every time you'd come up and say, fake news, you're fake news, you're lying, you libtard, you're terrible. When we told you, and now, guess what? You F around, you find out. And I get the feeling, by the way, that you and the rest of you, that everyone like you right now, only feels bad because you got caught. And I worry that you are not going to get what is coming to you. That you are going to get treated, way better than anyone else in this system because of who and what you are. White, conservative, affluent Republicans. There are two different things in America, okay? There are two different rules for those people and for the rest of us. All right. Move on. Yeah, they were doodling all the time and couldn't hear me. Yep. True. Moving on. Go to more fun stuff. Proponents of former President Donald Trump's big lie are continuing to be served with lawsuits, and it's hilarious. One such lawsuit has been launched by Dominion Voting Systems, who is suing Sidney Powell, as well as others, Rudy Giuliani, for example, for defamation. Now, the only problem, of course, is that they had to catch her first. And that's that was a little bit of a problem. According to Dominion, Powell had to be pursued across state lines as she evaded being served with the defamation lawsuit the company filed against her. Well, I mean, I wouldn't blame her. I mean, that's a lot of money. It's over $1 billion. I guess I'd run too. Or maybe not lie in the first place. Now, in response to a motion by Ms. Powell for an extension of time to answer or respond to the complaint, Dominion's lawyers did say that they do not oppose the motion as a professional courtesy. Okay, we'll give you more time to respond to it, sure. But want the record to reflect two different points. First, that Powell refused to respond to requests about executing waivers of service or process that would have extended her time to respond to the complaint, which of course is now what she's asking for after she got caught. And secondly, that she had evaded being served for weeks, forcing Dominion to incur unnecessary expenses for the extraordinary measures needed to serve Mrs. Powell, including the hiring of private investigators to pursue her across state lines. So this woman, she's like, uh-oh, somebody's after me. I gotta go. I'm going to run away from the lawsuit instead of facing up for the lies and retracting the lies that I spread about this election. All she had to do was to say, no, you know what? I take everything back. No, Dominion wasn't, created by the ghost of Hugo Chavez in order to rig the election. That's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous talk here. No, I don't believe any of that at all. And then, well, the lawsuit would have went away. Instead, what does she do? She doubled down. Now, the case, of course, is pretty compelling against her. She made things up with no evidence. Again, she claimed that not only with the ghost of Hugo Chavez, but also Iran and China got together to compromise Dominion voting machines, of which we have no evidence of, so that they would change Trump supporters' votes to Joe Biden. Now, again, if you were to make those claims, you'd have to have pretty compelling evidence, right? Except she has no evidence. She also, again, claimed that Hugo Chavez had influence over the software, that it was developed during the time when he was in charge of Venezuela in order to rig elections in favor of him, and that someday it was going to be used against Donald Trump. Again, super ridiculous, right? Powell had falsely claimed that Dominion had rigged the election, that Dominion was created in Venezuela, and that Dominion bribed Georgia officials for a no-bid contract, the lawsuit reads. Dominion is seeking $650 million in reputational damages and another $650 million in punitive damages. The company claims that it has spent millions providing security for their employees, who are, of course, being threatened by MAGA supporters, and for public relations work in order to maintain their image. In addition to the $1.3 billion, the company is also seeking a legal injunction against Ms. Powell that would force her to remove all of her defamatory comments about Dominion and prevent her from making them in the future. And again, why do I think that this is a pretty easy case? Because, well, they can easily prove the damages. Now, so their job, this company makes voting machines. That's their main job. And so, well, you have to have people to buy those voting machines, right? You have to have the Democrats. Well, if Democrats buy them, the Republicans will look at that and be like, oh, so you're buying Dominion voting machines. I guess you're going to try to rig this election, huh? And then, of course, Republican voters are pretty angry about that. Same if Republicans decide to have a contract with Dominion. Oh, so you're trying to rig elections for the Democrats. And then, again, once again, the people lose, trust in our voting system. And therefore, that hurts their reputation. They're not going to, these governments, they're not going to go and sign contracts with Dominion, which means they lose out on any of their potential revenue. So, yeah, that absolutely hurt their businesses. And so these lies, again, you can definitely prove that this was harmful, or that this would be harmful to the company having these lies out there. So for me, open and shut, right? That said, Powell doubled down. Even after they just did a cease and desist letter, right? She still tweeted out that she would retract nothing because she had evidence. Well, where was her evidence? She had none. She did not release the Kraken, okay? All she had was a floppy dead fish that was stinking up the courtroom. That was it. That was it. You don't evade lawsuits if you know you're going to win. All right? You don't run because you're scared. You run because, well, you run because you're scared, actually. It's true. And you run because you know you're wrong. Sidney Powell, she's going to lose, and she's going to lose badly. We all know this, if it even ever gets to court. And frankly, I do hope that Smartmatic and Dominion, that Smartmatic is also doing gigantic lawsuits as well. I hope that they take these people to the cleaners, Rudy included. So, they can stop doing their ridiculous lies against the election and against these companies who actually didn't do anything wrong. All right. Release the crackpot. That's so good. All right. We got more. Oh, yeah, My Pillow guy is also being sued. That's right. On the very week that the Senate began impeachment hearings into former President Donald Trump's incitement of insurrection at the Capitol, prosecutors in Georgia are now looking into the perfect call made by Donald Trump in order to try to overturn Georgia's election results. You all know. The perfect call, right? Where he's asking for 11,780 votes to win the election? Yeah. Now, the New York Times is reporting that prosecutors in Fulton County have initiated a criminal investigation into former President Trump's attempts to overturn the Georgia election results. That include a phone call he made to Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's office, in which Trump pressured him to find enough votes to help him reverse his loss. I don't care where you find the votes. Just go, can you find me some votes? I just need a few votes. Can you help me? You're a Republican. Why aren't you helping me? Because there's no votes for you to find. Look, and here's the thing. Georgia did what? At least two recounts where they still did not find enough votes for Donald Trump to win because he lost. Georgia was an upset. Now, on Wednesday, Fonnie Williams, the recently elected Democratic prosecutor in Fulton County, sent a letter to numerous officials in state government, including Mr. Raffensperger, requesting that they preserve documents related to an investigation into attempts to influence the administration of the 2020 Georgia general election. So that is bad for him. While the letter does not mention Mr. Trump by name, it is related to his intervention in Georgia's election, according to a state official with knowledge of the matter. This investigation includes, but is not limited to, potential violations of Georgia law prohibiting the solicitation of election fraud, the making of false statements to state and local government bodies, conspiracy, racketeering, violation of oath of office, and of any involvement of violence or threats related to the elections administration, according to the letter. Oh, snap. So good. Oh, in addition to Mr. Raffensperger, the letter was also sent to some of the state's other top Republican office holders, including Governor Brian Kemp, Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, and Attorney General Chris Carr. Trump, of course, had called a lot of these officials to try to get them to find him some votes based on allegations of voter fraud, which, of course, they couldn't prove because they didn't have evidence of. Now, the Times also reports that in addition to the phone call to Mr. Raffensperger, he also called Kemp in early December to try to pressure him to call a special legislative session to overturn the election loss. So to go against literally the will of the voters, he doesn't care about the will of the voters. He cares about his own will, and that's his will to win the election, his desire to win the election. Later that month, Mr. Trump called the state investigator and pressed the official to, quote-unquote, find the fraud. According to those with knowledge of the call, well, of course, we did find the fraud. The fraud was you. The fraud was Trump. I'm just saying. Now, the inquiry, of course, makes Georgia the second state after New York, where Trump is facing a criminal investigation. Cyrus Vance is, of course, looking into his financial dealings. And it comes in a jurisdiction where potential jurors are unlikely to be hospitable to the former president. Fulton County encompasses most of Atlanta and supported Biden in the November election. How ironic. The very people that Trump sought to disenfranchise will now get to decide on Trump's fate in Georgia. Now, of course, I'm sure that they will be fair, impartial. They'll look at the evidence, unlike, of course, Trump himself, who will not be fair, or who is not fair and impartial. It doesn't care about the evidence. So here's the thing, the call really speaks for itself. We've listened to it on the show before. He said, find me the votes. He said he's got, there's evidence of fraud, but I don't have the evidence. And of course you had just clear illegality in this call. Again, trying to interfere in an election process. Former prosecutors said that Mr. Trump's calls might run afoul of at least 3 different state laws. One is criminal solicitation to commit election fraud. Ooh, not good. Which can either be a felony or misdemeanor. As a felony, it's punishable by at least a year in prison. There's also conspiracy, which should be prosecuted either as a misdemeanor or a felony. A third law, a misdemeanor, bars intentional interference with another person's performance of election duties. Of course, that would be Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger and his administration of the Georgia elections. And that's, again, a lot of this is related to the threats that he had made against Kemp and Raffensperger because they didn't do enough to help him rig that election in his favor. They refused to overturn the election. And again, remember, they're Republicans. And they're like, look, we'd really love to find you some extra votes. We want you to win, but you didn't win. We can't just go and do crime. Not for you. And again, Donald Trump is used to people around him doing crime. Michael Cohen is a great example, but that's in business. Now it's in politics. And well, people aren't willing to, I would say a lot of people were not willing to do crime on his behalf, especially if they didn't get anything in return. And so, you know, he did not have good luck, right? So now what's going to happen if this were to go through and if Donald Trump were to be found guilty? Well, apparently there would be bad things, for him at least. If Mr. Trump were to be convicted of a state crime in New York and Georgia, he would, one, not be applicable for a federal pardon. So he couldn't be pardoned. So Joe Biden, oh my God, imagine if Joe Biden would be like, I would pardon Donald Trump. Ridiculous, right? But you never know with Democrats. And I'm sorry to say that, but like, sometimes Democrats are way, way too soft on Republicans. And I say that as a progressive, as somebody to the left. Yeah, no, I would hope not. But okay, not only that, he wouldn't be eligible for a pardon, at least in this, you know, in this state case. And also, he could not look to Governor Brian Kemp for a pardon as well, because that's a state pardon. State pardons are only granted by the State Board of Pardons and Paroles, not by the governor, which means Trump, if pursued as a felony, and there is definitely the option of that, and I'm no legal scholar or anything like that, so they could go either way on this if they wanted to, you know, either through misdemeanors or just, you know, as felonies. If it's pursued as felonies, then yeah, he could face jail, but real jail time. And that would be pretty awesome, but I don't know if that's likely to happen. I would say personally, don't count on it. For me, the justice system seems to work, you know, I guess differently for people who are affluent, right? People who are powerful. The former president, and for me, former presidents don't seem to go to prison, even if they've deserved it, okay? I mean, Nixon didn't go to prison, you know, over Watergate, so I don't see this happening to Donald Trump. You know, maybe they'll convict him of a misdemeanor or something, or a fine or something, in an effort to kind of distance themselves from Trump. You know, maybe they'll make some sort of example of him, but I don't think that's going to necessarily lead to prison time. And so not only that, but I think something that's working in his favor is the fact that Republican voters still love this guy. 60% of them would actually follow him to a new party if he were to leave the Republican Party. According to a recent poll, that is a huge, huge amount of people that would be exiting from the Republican Party to go and follow Donald Trump. So Republicans, no doubt, have this in mind when they're thinking about what charges to bring forward to Donald Trump. So, or, you know, what they're going to vote on. And so I don't have a lot of faith when it comes to the Republican Party, when it comes to doing the right thing. And the right thing, of course, would be holding former President Trump accountable for what he tried during the election and what ended up ultimately leading to violence on, you know, January 6th. All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a break. We're going to come back. We've got the Trump defense. The Trump defense team's first outing in the impeachment trial. You're going to love this. And then, of course, we go after Neera Tanden. Play some video of her hearing. So fun times. Stay right here. We'll be back around the nation.
There's some whores in this house. Wet ass P-word.
Everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here, Waldorf Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. All right, so let's see. Had to switch some sidebars out. All right, so I'm going to read a super chat here from Izzy Sanchez. Glad you're doing better. We're definitely missed, but thank you. Missed you all so much as well. Much appreciation for all the well wishes. Also, make sure not to, respond to like whataboutism in the chat, because I'm seeing a lot of that happen right now. So, I mean, I would ignore that. Whenever somebody says, and when you like say something, about Donald Trump, and they're like, well, what about Biden? That's whataboutism. That's a really bad, terrible debate tactic, because it completely tries to ignore what you're trying to say to what about this? What about that? It's a distraction, and it's a really, really poor debate tactic. So, and I'm seeing that happen all over, and it's just like, okay, sure. See, right there, whataboutism. Totally nonsensical and ridiculous. You're not a serious person if you're doing that. All right, anyway. So, that said, let's move on here. Let's go to the Trump defense. All right. On Tuesday, the impeachment trial of President Donald Trump began, and it was, for all intents and purposes, a complete and utter disaster. In fact, White House correspondent Caitlin Collins reported on CNN that former President Trump's was raging at the ineptitude of his lead attorney, Bruce Castor. So let's watch a little bit about that, and then don't worry, we've got more clips.
I'm now being told by two people familiar with President Trump's reaction, former President Trump, I should say, that he was deeply unhappy with that performance. He was borderline screaming, according to these two people who are aware of how the president responded to Bruce Castor as he was going forward, making that argument. Though, Wolf, we should point out, this is a legal team that was assembled just a little over a week ago after those other attorneys who were initially supposed to be the ones on the Senate floor making this argument left the team in what was described as a mutual decision at the time. And so they've only had a little over a week to prepare for this. And actually, they were supposed to go in reverse order with David Schoen. Actually, was supposed to make the first argument, but then they swapped, I'm told, at the last minute, which confused a lot of the president's allies. They did not think that was a strong opening argument. And then to have the first attorney admit that he believed the House impeachment managers did a good job also was confusing to a lot of people on the president's team. But yes, Trump was not happy with that performance. He was borderline screaming over what was going on as he was talking to people about this.
That's awesome. So, okay, look, to be fair, this is CNN. Now, CNN's obviously biased against Donald Trump, right? So why don't we, in the interest of fairness, give you some things, some videos, some examples of Castor making his defensive arguments in favor of course, exonerating the president. So we'll go to that video. Buckle up.
Don't know about off the top of my head, but each one of them, once there was the vacuum created that the greatest deliberative bodies, the Senate of Greece and sitting in Athens, the Senate of Rome, the moment that they devolved into such partisanship, it's not as though they ceased to exist. They ceased to exist as representative democracy, both replaced by totalitarianism. It's funny, this is an aside, but it's funny. You ever notice how when you're talking or you hear others talking about you when you're home in your state, they will say, I talked to my senator, or I talked to somebody on the staff of my senator. It's always my senator. Why is it that we say my senator? We say that because The people you represent are proud of their senators. I'll be quite frank with you. We changed what we were going to do on account that we thought that the House manager's presentation was well done. We are generally a social people. We enjoy being around one another. Senators of the United States, they're not ordinary people. And boy, this is a diverse group. We still know what records are, right? On the thing you put the needle down on and you play it. I worked in this building 40 years ago. I got lost then, and I still do.
No kidding. Getting lost. It seems like you were lost that entire time. And again, those are just snippets of his, of his arguments. And I don't know. It was a disaster. It was a disaster. I'm guessing, what was your strategy? Was it to confuse people into acquitting the president? Are they running the Chewbacca defense? Like, I don't know, if Chewbacca's a Wookiee, and it's from Endor, though, then, you must acquit. Well, Chewbacca's not from Endor, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's ridiculous. Now, not only did Donald Trump apparently ban his performance because it was god-awful, but even on the right, they were less than impressed. In fact, here's Alan Dershowitz, who was part of Donald Trump's legal team during his first impeachment trial. He's talking to Newsmax, and he said this, quote, "There is no argument. I have no idea what he's doing." I have no idea. What are you doing, man? What are you doing? Talking about ancient Greece? What? All right. So Washington Examiner chief political correspondent Byron York also described his speech on Twitter as, quote, "a waste of time." And conservative pollster Frank Luntz criticized both the optics and the substance of the presentation. And one more thing, of course, by the way, that probably pissed off Donald Trump, going back to him, is that in the middle of this, he actually also admitted something that Donald Trump hasn't admitted, that he legitimately lost the election. In fact, here's that.
The reason that I am having trouble with the argument is the American people just spoke, and they just changed administrations. So in the light most favorable to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle here, their system works. The people are smart enough, in the light most favorable to them, they're smart enough to pick a new administration if they don't like the old one. And they just did. And he's down there, Pennsylvania Avenue now, probably wondering, how come none of my stuff is happening up at the Capitol?
That's their argument. Hey, man, look, Trump lost, so why do you got to impeach him? Kind of a bad idea. The thing about that, of course, is that Donald Trump is like, no, I don't admit that I lost. Yeah, fraud. That's why he got rid of his first team. I know they said it was like they all made the decision to split because of differences. Well, the difference is he keeps saying, no, I want you to argue that there was massive voter fraud, which didn't exist. I want you to argue that. And, that's it. That's my defense, is that it was stolen from me. And they said, well, sir, we can't do that. That's not a legitimate defense. What we're going to do is we're going to argue about the constitutionality of impeaching a president after he's no longer in office, which hasn't been done before. And so that's the argument apparently that they're going with. And that's why President Trump is apparently really, really mad right now. And so, but here's the thing, though. And let me get real cynical with y'all. All right, this is real talk, okay? I think Castor knows that Republicans aren't going to vote to convict Donald Trump. Are you kidding me? No. I think maybe he's just BSing because he knows what the outcome is going to be. He doesn't have to make a real argument because they're not going to vote to convict the former president. In fact, all but 6 Republicans voted at the end of Tuesday's proceeding to end the impeachment trial on the basis of unconstitutionality, right? That's what they're going with. That's their argument. And that's why ultimately President Donald Trump, former President Trump, is not going to get convicted. And that's it. I mean, even one of the Republican senators who voted to end the impeachment trial, John Cornyn of Texas, here's what he acknowledged about Castor's case. Quote, "The president's lawyer just rambled on and on. I've seen a lot of lawyers and a lot of arguments, and that was not one of the finest I've seen." You compare that to what Jamie Raskin had presented, like a 10-minute long video of Donald Trump inciting, as well as video of the rioters going through, doing violence, breaking windows, all that stuff. I mean, that was incredibly powerful. And you know, compared to this is just nothing. This is rambly gobbledygook. But again, Republicans don't care. Cornyn still voted to end the trial, meaning that no matter what argument they use and how powerful evidence that the Democrats bring forward in video or whatnot, they're still going to back Donald Trump. You need 2/3 to convict, and it's not going to happen. Again, he could use the Chewbacca defense and still win, because Republican politicians will put their loyalty to Donald Trump and their careers, most importantly, over anything and everything else. And as far as Trump is concerned, he's only big mad because this guy's not talking about non-existent voter fraud that never happened and is actively undermining him in front of an audience, and also probably didn't get good ratings and good reviews, which again is one of the only things that the president actually cares about. He's not in any real danger of being convicted, and being actually impeached. And so he's not worried about that. It's always about the optics, and that's all that matters. All right. Move on. So let's get away from, going after Trump and start talking about, oh man, Neera Tanden, my least favorite Democrat, or one of them, I should say. Oof. Earlier today, there was a hearing for the pick for Office of Management and Budget. Now, the person who was chosen for this position is Neera Tanden, chosen by Joe Biden. So now, I am not a fan of Neera Tanden. I'm going to explain why. She's, of course, been incredibly hostile to progressives in the past, despite, of course, chairing a think tank known as the Center for American Progress. Now, they've actually been against some of the progressive positions that are incredibly popular with Democratic Party voters. So I want to get to some of that a little bit later and what they've done. But first, basically, her confirmation hearing, a lot of it was spent on some of her old tweets, which she had tried to scrub from the internet. But of course, as we all know, what's on the internet lasts forever. And so I'm going to go to a video here first of Senator Bernie Sanders, who is the budget chairman. He's going to talk about this, and he's going to ask her about these tweets. So take a look.
We understand that we are a divided nation, and on this committee there are people who have very, very different political points of view. But I think most of us understand that it's important we debate the issues and try to minimize the level of personal and vicious attacks that seem to be so prevalent all over this country today. Your attacks were not just made against Republicans. There were vicious attacks made against progressives, people who I have worked with, me personally. So as you come before this committee to assume a very important role in the United States government, at a time when we need serious work on serious issues and not personal attacks on anybody, whether they're on the left or the right, can you reflect a little bit about some of your decisions and the personal statements that you have made in recent years?
Yes, Senator, I really appreciate that question, and I recognize that my language and my expressions on social media, caused hurt to people, and I feel badly about that, and I really regret it, and I recognize this. It's really important for me to demonstrate that I can work with others, and I look forward to taking that burden, and I apologize to people on either the left or right who are hurt by what I've said.
Okay, and as you know, it's not a question of being hurt. We're all big boys, and I don't see too many girls here, but big boys who get attacked all the time. But it's important that we make the attacks expressing our differences on policy, and that we don't need to make personal attacks no matter what view somebody may hold. So can we assume that as the director of the OMB, we're going to see a different approach if you are appointed than you have taken at CAP?
Absolutely. And I would say, you know, social media does lead to too many personal comments, and my approach will be radically different.
I don't know about that one. I mean, look, you know, I may be a bad person here, but I don't believe her whatsoever. Again, Neera Tanden, understand that when it comes to, you know, personal attacks, Neera Tanden has been a leader in personal attacks against progressives, not just Bernie Sanders, but anybody who even ever followed or supported the candidacy of Bernie Sanders, and even those who had, you know, switched over after Bernie Sanders lost in 2016, for example, to support Hillary Clinton. There were still those massive, you know, attacks against progressives, against anybody, you know, Bernie bros, all that stuff. And so understand that we don't necessarily, after, you know, 4 years of nonstop vitriol from this one person, we're not just going to say, oh, all is forgiven. You feel bad about it because your job is on the line. And so, oh, we forgive you. No, it's going to take a lot more than that. Now, speaking, of course, some of the nasty things that were directed towards progressives, for example, Bernie Sanders, John Kennedy. So John Kennedy is not somebody that I agree with, okay? And this segment pains me because you have Republicans that are actually saying things, and hypocritically, of course, because a lot of these Republicans supported President Donald Trump, who said some of the most atrocious things about, you know, liberals, Biden supporters, basically anybody, right? Now they're out there actually saying correct things, and it hurts me because it's like, ooh, it's hard to disagree. So with that, let's go to John Kennedy, who is actually right. Take a look.
You know, it's not just one or two. I think you deleted about 1,000 tweets. And it wasn't just about Republicans. And I don't mind disagreements in policy. I think that's great. I love the dialectic. But the comments were personal. I mean, you call Senator Sanders everything but an ignorant slut.
That is not true.
And
Senator.
when you said these things, did you mean them?
I wouldn't have said ignorant.
Senator, I have to say, I deeply regret my comments.
I understand that, but
and
when
I
you
feel
said
badly
them, did
about
you
them.
mean them? I understand you've taken them back, but did you mean them?
I'd say the discourse over the last 4 years on all sides has been incredibly polarizing.
I'm asking about yours. Did you mean them?
I really feel badly about them, Senator.
Did you mean them?
I feel badly about them.
Did you mean them when you said them?
I mean, I would say social media is I've
Did
heard
you
a
mean them
terrible
when you
discourse.
said them?
I feel terribly about them.
Did you mean them when you said them, or were you not telling the truth?
I mean, I feel badly. I look back at them. I said them. I feel badly about them. I deleted tweets over.
Are you saying that because you want to be confirmed?
No, I felt badly about them. And
Did you
deleted
mean them when you said them?
Senator, I must have meant them, but I really regret them.
Oh my God, that was brutal. Yeah, okay. John Kennedy, well done on that one. That is actually really grilling her about that, because you could tell that I don't think at all she felt bad for anything that she said on Twitter. It's just one of those things where it's like, oh, I really want this job. I really want power. And the reason that I'm so mad at Bernie Sanders is that I believe that he cost me a position in Hillary Clinton's cabinet because Hillary Clinton did not win. And I blame Bernie Sanders and Russia, and I blame all this other stuff for Hillary Clinton not winning, which of course is absolute BS. In reality, of course, Hillary Clinton lost because she ran a terrible campaign, and Donald Trump ran a better campaign. And that sucks, but you can't go and blame everyone else for your own team's terrible failures. And this is even when people like me, who are Bernie Sanders supporters, grudgingly went out and voted for Hillary Clinton because we didn't want the disaster that was Donald Trump. And we're still getting blamed for this. And we would have gotten 100% blamed if Joe Biden had lost against Donald Trump. And so understand that this is a long time, war between people like Neera Tanden and progressives. And so, no, we don't take her at her word. And no, we don't believe that she doesn't, that she takes these things back. And it took her a long time to say, well, I did kind of actually mean that, but I feel sorry about it now. No, I'm sorry. I don't believe it. Now, that said, I don't have any issues with some of the stuff that she said against Republicans. I actually agree with a lot of that. Let's be honest. I mean, basically likening, Republicans like Ted Cruz to Voldemort. Not bad. And then he's a vampire with I forget what she said, what was stuck on Ted Cruz's face. All right. The less I know about that, the better. But again, some of the stuff that she said, Bernie Sanders owned by the Russians. That's super ridiculous. I even actually disagreed with a lot of the statements about Donald Trump being owned by the Russians. I do think that he had business ties. I do think that, Trump received money and had this weird kind of I look up to you kind of relationship, not just with Vladimir Putin, but Kim Jong-un and Duterte in the Philippines. And it's because they have the situation which Donald Trump wanted, to be a dictator, to be in control, to have absolute 100% loyalty. That's who Donald Trump is. That's what he's always wanted. And he didn't get this. But none of that to say that he was in control, that he was being personally controlled by Putin. No. Donald Trump was in control of himself. He was just an absolute moron. And the Bernie Russia stuff, again, even more ridiculous. But thanks to people like Neera Tanden, he ended up getting stuck with that. And you still have people that are making these disastrous, this ridiculous attacks against Bernie to this day. Even the Moscow Mitch thing. Cocaine Mitch was better. Oh, let's be honest. Or simply, I like to prefer it, calling him the Grim Reaper, because that's essentially what he is. But again, Bernie Sanders says, hey, that's not my focus. My focus is, can you do the job fairly and impartially? And again, I don't think that that's the case with Ms. Tanden. In fact, look, she's an incredibly partisan individual. We know that. Hey, I'm pretty partisan too. So let's be honest. A lot of my tweets might get me in trouble. But I'm not trying to angle for a job in the government. But she's also had issues where she was, where she had made some questionable decisions when she was at the Center for American Progress. For example, I go back to a 2018 article from Nathan J. Robinson in Current Affairs. He writes that CAP President Neera Tanden has described herself as a loyal soldier for Hillary Clinton, and despite heading a nonpartisan think tank, worked behind the scenes during the 2016 primary to try to erode Bernie Sanders' support. Leaked internal emails revealed Tanden's own political instincts to depart from what is typically considered progressive. She advised the Clinton campaign against the $15 minimum wage, which is now standard party fare, and is actually, thanks to progressives fighting for it, still in the House version of the coronavirus stimulus bill. Now, it's also argued, and this is far worse, that Libyans should be forced to turn over large portions of their oil reserves to repay the United States for the costs incurred in bombing Libya, on the grounds that Americans will support future wars only if they see that the countries attacked by the U.S. pay for the invasions. You know who else advocated for that position or a similar position? Donald Trump. Donald Trump also said Iraq should have paid for it by us taking their oil, for our invasion into their country. And here, Neera Tanden agrees, this time when it comes to Libya, in which, of course, later on, after our bombing of Libya, there was open-air slave markets. So that was disastrous. That is a horrifying position, telling innocent people of our bombing campaigns overseas that, hey, by the way, you owe us with your natural resources for the pleasure of being bombed by us. And by the way, sorry about killing your family. Oops. I mean, wow. That is a horrible position. All right, Robinson also goes on to explain that the Center for American Progress does not just accept shady donations from corporations, large business interests, the healthcare industry, etc., but also they give shady donations. In fact, journalist Andrew Perez, who now writes for the Daily Poster, reported that according to financial disclosure forms, CAP donated $200,000 in 2017 for the American Enterprise Institute. That is a right-wing think tank. It is a so-called free market think tank that is known as the longtime home of racist social scientist Charles Murray. In their joint reports, they basically refer to any sort of left-wing populist movement, whether it be in the UK under Jeremy Corbyn and the labor movement, the progressive wing of the Democratic Party under Bernie Sanders as, quote, authoritarian, because they prefer redistributive properties, like making sure that everybody is entitled to health care through the government, through, for example, a single-payer system. So, it's funny that there are people out here defending Neera Tanden from the left. In fact, here's a CBS News reporter saying, Tanden, in response to a tweet here from Bo Erickson, saying Senator Sanders' first question to Neera is about the vicious attacks made against Republicans, progressives, and me personally. Tanden apologized to people on the left or right who she may have hurt, but no direct apology to Sanders, to which Kara Court says, Tanden was not so affectionately referred to as a neoliberal by Sanders' surrogates and supporters. Well, now, based on this, Neera Tanden is a neoliberal in her policy positions. Somebody who supports free markets and is against redistributive policies like healthcare and against minimum wage, raising it to $15 an hour. She is a neoliberal. It's not a slur. It's literally where her politics are. And so it's amazing to me. And let me give you the definition here, by the way, of neoliberal. So let me go here and find that real quick. Okay, that's basically it's supporting free market, free market policies and deregulation. Essentially, that's where Neera Tanden's policies tend to lie. And so, it is, you call a spade, and that's exactly what she is. Now, not only that, but Tanden also participated in joint events with neoconservative Bill Kristol of the Weekly Standard. Now, Kristol, of course, is a massive war hawk who cheered on the invasion of Iraq, which was an unmitigated, of course, foreign policy blunder, a disaster, one that Bernie Sanders did not vote in favor of. Not only that, but when it comes to her leadership at the Center for American Progress, well, you know what? Again, going to people that I don't like to make a great point, like the worst people in the world making awesome points, I'm going to go to Lindsey Graham. So now Lindsey Graham is going to read Glassdoor reviews from former people who had worked at the Center for American Progress about her leadership skills in order to make a point. Well, let's take a look at that.
As to her management capability, she referred to us for the Glassdoor review of her time of running the Center for American Progress. Again, she's a talented person, who's come a long way in life, but here's some of the reviews. June 2019, 1 out of 5 stars. Terrible, absolutely horrible. October 2016, cool work but absurd management. Disapproves of CEO. April 2016, influential organization poorly managed. September 2012, 2 out of 5 stars, bad management. February 13th, 2 out of 5 stars, great experience, terrible management. 2 out of 5 stars, April 2017, disapproves of CEO, doesn't recommend, what a mess. So all I can say is that this is not the unifying pick that I was looking for this position.
Now, again, one of the worst people I know making an excellent point, just reading the reviews. And again, if you want to call him out for hypocrisy, 100%, I'm there with you. But on this, he is right. And these are people who worked with her. These are people who worked for her. But there's more. Okay, back in 2018, BuzzFeed News published a report detailing allegations of sexual harassment and retaliation at the Center for American Progress. So now, when Tanden discussed the issue within the organization, people were shocked to hear that Tanden had actually revealed the identity of the woman making that claim, just outing this person. One CAP employee who was at the meeting told BuzzFeed at the time, quote, "There's literally one thing you cannot do in this meeting, and that is out the victim." And Neera not only, did it once, but did it multiple times. Quote, "It also destroys whatever small level of confidence in the system remained." So, look, again, she does not seem like a person, like a good pick for this. Not because we disagree with her politics, but because of the level of vitriol she has taken against people who, who are looking for actual, positive change within the government, progressive change. Not only that, but her leadership style and the stuff that she has done, the retaliation she has gone against for her own employees who have made allegations. It's just, no, she's a toxic person, right? Her pick, to me, is a middle finger to the left. I think she's deeply, unqualified as a person. Not her professional life. Again, professionally, very smart, but just like, what Graham said, smart, talented, but also vindictive and petty and just very, very toxic. The only reason that I could see Biden picking her is as a reward for backing him. And that's gross. That's incredibly gross. And you might think that that's an unfair assertion, but again, I've reported on Neera Tanden for years, and it's no secret on the left that she is incredibly toxic. That's not to say that the Center for American Progress hasn't done a lot of good for the progressive movement. They used to run Think Progress, which was an excellent news organization, which launched a lot of careers of very successful progressive journalists. And so, there are positive things that the Center for American Progress has done, but they're, much, much better off under someone else. And the OMB is also much, much better off with someone else other than Neera Tanden. Okay, she has overshadowed any of the good that organization has done with disdain for any person who does not, fall in line with her, the Democratic establishment, and the donor class. She is a terrible pick, and I hope that she does not get confirmed. I hope that Bernie Sanders shuts her down. Simply put, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think that there's a lot of pressure on him to confirm her, but again, we'll have to see what happens. But as far as I'm concerned, choosing her for the Office of Management and Budget would be an absolute mistake, not just for the progressive movement, but also would cast a shadow over the entire Biden administration because of her past toxicity. All right. That's all I got for you all today. Thank you for going around the nation with me today. Thank you for the super chats. I want to thank a couple of people on Twitch as well. Thank you, Ergo Diva, for subscribing with Prime. Much, much appreciated. Give me those nice Bezos bucks. Put them in my pocket instead of his. And then also thank you, Crazy Hawaiian and PA, for gifting a 1-month Tier 1 sub. Thank you. Much, much appreciated. Person who received that sub, make sure to thank Crazy Hawaiian and PA for that. Excellent. I love to see it. I love the generosity for you all, from you all. All right. Anyway, thank you all. Love you guys. And we'll be back tomorrow. Again, I'm feeling much better than I did before. So hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, right here around the nation. Thank you guys. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. Have a good day.
Give me a break.
I have not loved this conversation. I like my knee tight. Tighten up my knee.
Please clap.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.